I moved into a house with 4 bedrooms. There's a fifth person. I moved into, I don't know what you'd call it, a community house a week ago, a regular big house. But with each room rented to different people, rather than bought and whole by some family, more money for someone out there. I suppose, and it's a good operation. Price can't be beat for the quality, in my opinion. Sometimes these things are too good to be true. This one didn't look like it. Mr. Landa, the tour guide, a balding paunchy cheerful dude in his late 40s with glasses, total dad looking guy, was also the owner of the house, leasing it out while he lived with his family in a beach condo far off. Real money maker. Looked like he was friendly the whole time, super honest, and I don't blame him for what happened one bit. I loved the whole property, in and out, and was excited to move in. But it was when I was beside myself ready to go online and sign the digital lease that he dropped the ball. Well, sort of. I don't really want to insult your intelligence in a matter like this, Mr. Decora, he started, with his hands slightly up in a this shit is about to get weird kind of way, fresh out of college, renting out property with a great new job. You seem like an up-and-coming kind of guy. The kind of person who doesn't need any kind of problems in his life. Now, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but since we've got all the good out of the way and you seem hooked already, I need to make sure you're aware of the, less obvious aspects of this place. While I can't be too direct, he paused for a second, looking as though he didn't know how to put his next statement. I didn't want to blow a great opportunity, so I let him take a moment. There's 4 bedrooms here, each for one person, he began. There is absolutely not a 5th bedroom in this house. You understand, of course, right? I nodded and couldn't help raising an eyebrow. Only 4, from the looks of it. Definitely only 4, he agreed. So, knowing this for a fact, if you were to see an extra room that, to an outsider, would look like a 5th room, what would you tell them? Was this some hyper-dramatic way of telling me I couldn't have people sleep over? I was fine with that rule, but I wished he'd just come out and say it. I think I'd tell them that it was just a storage room, or a dining room, just happens to look the size of a bedroom. If it is, I mean, Mr. Landa nodded. Right, especially at night, in the dark, when it's possible for people to see things. Everyone can see things in the dark, you know, even if you're completely sane. It's possible to see things that you know are not really there, and you simply have to learn to not acknowledge them. He looked super uncomfortable. Do you get what I mean? I think so, I said slowly, narrowing my eyes. But if you're just trying to tell me not to let anyone else sleep over, oh, no, not that at all. It would be alright to do that, just so long as you told any visitor about that rule, too. But remember, if you see anything to the contrary of what I've said about a 5th bedroom, especially at night, it isn't real, and it would be best for you to avoid thinking it is. All good. I awkwardly agreed. I really couldn't think how this would bite me in any way, and I just decided that maybe there was a specific room in his house he didn't want me messing with. But why wasn't he telling me directly? Why wasn't he showing me the room in question? Why not just point to the door and say, if you go in there, I kick yo ass bitch, or, know, the friendly landlord version of that, just to not be a beat around the bush loon about it? Well, fast forward. There was a door downstairs, right behind the kitchen, a door he hadn't shown me before. Somehow, I hadn't even noticed it during the tour. I was a week into living at the new house when I first saw the door, and I'd met my 3 other roommates by then. A 20-year-old guy named Arwen who streamed games and was a YouTuber for a living, lucky guy, an early 30s guy with a friendly, trustworthy kind of face, I'm sure you've seen them, who was a nurse at the local hospital, and Rocky, in the room next to mine, tall, mid-20s, car salesman, just living here to save even more so he could get a house for himself sooner in life. This downstairs room, if it had been a bedroom, would have been the only one on the first floor. I glanced at it as I headed for the microwave to heat up some cheesy ravioli for my lunch. It was closed, and I wondered if it was the room Mr. Landa had been referring to. Maybe not. Being downstairs, an extra room should be upstairs. Unless there wasn't enough space. I dunno. I don't build freaking houses for a living. I work as an administrative assistant at my new office job. Looking for promotion down the road. I used to work in a beer warehouse. Insert Peter Griffin laugh here. But that night, I was downstairs again, super happy to have a 3-day weekend starting with Friday night. My first few weeks were kind of wobbly until they straightened everything out at the office and gave me a stable 8 to 5 weekday deal. And I didn't work weekends. Pay was fantastic, too. You know, just celebrating the small stuff. I headed for the stove to make some spaghetti. The light switch was over on the far side of the kitchen, a minor inconvenience. As I navigated through the dark, I could barely see that the door behind the kitchen was open now. To my surprise, I could clearly see a bed in the far corner of the room, and it looked white with dark sheets. There was a faintly discernible dresser nearby, and even a TV sitting on it, but the weirdest part was the woman sitting on the bed. She looked to be about my age, 20, with dark hair, pale skin, and dark clothes. She was staring right at me. I flinched slightly at the realization. It creeped me out for a moment. I sure hadn't realized there was another roommate here. She hunched her shoulders up a little, her mouth opening in a slight gasp that became a shy smile, as though she loved my attention. She slowly raised a hesitant hand and waved at me. I waved back, slowly and awkwardly. Her eyes seemed to light up at my acknowledgement, and she stood up from the bed. She made her way out the door into the kitchen, moving silently as a shadow. Hi, she whispered. Do you agree that I'm here? Now, don't call me an idiot just yet. I didn't care one bit how close this sounded to Mr. Landis' warning. He'd been talking about the room not existing, not a person from the room. And what do you say to someone who asks you if you think they exist? No, of course, I said, furrowing my brow. She looked delighted. What's your name? She asked. Tim, I answered. Tim Decora. What's yours? I'm Shona, she whispered. I couldn't hear it right the first time, and I had to ask her to repeat it, which she seemed only so happy to do. It sounded like Shona. That sounds really nice, I said, sort of smiling like an idiot. Admittedly, I already had a bit of a crush on her. Her shadowy, pale appearance was one of those kinds of mysterious things that just sort of pulls at you, you know. And to have a name that cool, she sounded like a mystical creature from a fairy tale. Thank you, she said softly. Tim is nice, even if it's pretty ordinary. We both had a chuckle at that. Did you? When you first moved in, I wondered, did Landa tell you something weird about understanding that there were only 4 bedrooms in the house? She looked a bit uncomfortable. He did? Yeah. He told me that I shouldn't think a 5th bedroom in here even exists. And if I saw one, especially at night, to not even acknowledge it. I finished for her. She nodded eagerly. I haven't even seen you in here. I've been in this place for a week, and I thought I'd met all 3 of the guys upstairs. I quirked an eyebrow. There's 4 rooms up there, though. She blinked. Huh, I only saw 3. Then the bathroom and the laundry room. Her voice trailed off. Come on, I'll show you, I told her. We both went upstairs to find only 3 bedrooms and the bathroom and the laundry room. Mine was gone. I'll admit, I didn't handle that too well. I started panicking for a few seconds, wondering where the hell all my stuff was, wondering how it could have been moved into a room that didn't exist. Tim, it's all right, Shona said softly. Calm down, I can help. Just come back downstairs with me. I shakily followed her back down to the kitchen and over to the door to her room. It was closed. Had she closed it? I couldn't remember. She opened it and turned on the light. There was all my stuff. That bed wasn't mine, but the dresser, I now realized it was the one I had upstairs in my own R. Well, it had been up there before, and the TV, also mine. My blue table with my tablet and headphones and an unopened box of soda. My chair, my computer desk. I don't understand, I said shakily, starting to sweat. This isn't my room. It is, Shona said gently. It's our room. Tim, our room? I asked, completely dumbfounded. Turning to Shona, she smiled at me, looking so delighted, so relieved, as though she had been waiting for this for months. But there was a hint of sadness to her eyes, mixed and conflictingly with the good. The excitement slowly faded from her smile, until she looked only sad and sympathetic. I'm sorry, Tim, she said softly. I'm so sorry, but you weren't supposed to acknowledge that I was here. You fell for it all so easy. Of course, you wouldn't just do a weird thing like telling me you didn't agree that I was standing right in front of you. Right. I was silent, completely bewildered. Mr. Landa couldn't tell you that I was here. He couldn't even hint at it. He didn't really mean the room itself. He meant me. He just couldn't say it like that, or else he would have been breaking the contract of the house. What contract? I demanded breathlessly. The contract of the tenants, she continued. Not the one you signed on your phone. The one you signed by agreeing with him. By agreeing that you wouldn't acknowledge my room. I can't leave it until I'm realized. Which is why telling you about the room was a safe alternative that would have achieved the same goal if you'd followed his instructions. She stepped toward me, closing the door behind her. It seemed to disappear into the wall, melting quickly into it until there was only wall left. Holy flipping shit. There are only 4 bedrooms in the house. Tim, she said softly, that's true. And by thinking you saw a 5th one that wasn't there, you still, in some way, agreed that there were only 4. You removed yours. You agreed my way, not Mr. Landa's way. You broke his contract. Tim, and in doing so, you signed mine. I didn't sign anything of yours, I stammered, backing away from her. She kept coming closer. You did, she said softly, and now you're my roommate. My head was spinning. What does that mean? Are we trapped in here? I cried. Where's the goddamn door? Please, calm down, Shona pleaded, raising her hands in a pacifying way, still coming closer. You have to follow my rules now. You aren't in Mr. Landis' house anymore. You're in mine, Tim, but the house is in his name, I argued. Mr. Landis' house has 4 bedrooms upstairs, none downstairs. Mine has 3 upstairs and 1 downstairs. You agreed to that. You agreed to let me be real. You let me go into Mr. Landis' house and take you home with me. She stopped right in front of me. And now you're mine, she whispered. You made it so easy. Then she kissed me. Okay, that's enough. This isn't some fetish story where some succubus kidnapped me and dragged me into her lair. Shona was gentle with me the whole time, explaining to me that now I was her roommate, and hers essentially. She didn't say what of hers I was. I'm just hers. I don't know why she'd be sorry about that, but she told me I'm not trapped. The door will be back in the morning. She just needed to impress upon me that she was the one in control of the room, of the house, of me. Maybe she didn't say that, but holy shit. Probably, she told me I still have my life, my general freedom, my job, my friends, my family. None of that's gone. I just need to remember that I belong to her. I need to understand that I can't leave her. I'm bound to her. I signed her contract. I agreed to her terms even if I didn't realize it at the time. Her playing along with me about the whole 5-bedroom oddity at first was just her way of beginning to break the truth gently. But WHAT fucking truth. What does all of this entail? I don't know what's even starting right now. I'm sitting here in bed, typing this out on my phone, while she's laying with me, cuddling up close. She's been asleep for over an hour now. Her head is laying on my shoulder. I don't get it. She's not acting crazy or evil or overly controlling yet. But will she become that way? What the hell have I done? Did I unleash some kind of demon? Or is she some kind of benevolent spirit who just wanted to find love? I used to not believe in fantasy shit like this. Now I don't know what to think. What I'm even more worried about is this: when I wake up tomorrow and go outside, how much more than just the house will have changed? Who is she? What's she capable of? I guess I'll find out.